what's up guys? It's Cliff from Trail Grid Pro. Super pumped to be with you today. It's taco time. Today we're going to be putting in the Alpine F511 in this 2019 Toyota Tacoma. The awesome thing about this new Alpine lineup is that whether you choose the F511, which we're going to be putting in today, the F509, which is not on the table, but it's the 9-inch screen, or the F507, which is the 7-inch screen, this install will be applicable for all of those installations. It's exactly the same. The feature set of all three head units is also exactly the same. So regardless of the screen size you choose, you get all of the same features across the board. It's an awesome lineup. If you haven't already, check out the Trail Grid Pro and Alpine partnership launch video that I shot with Colin from Alpine. In that video, we go through an in-depth review of all of the head units, the F511, the F509, and the F507, and in-depth review of all of the features across all of the bundles. Also how the dash cam, front cam, and rear cam integrates with all of these head units in a super slick way. But in summary, what that video with Colin explains is that all three of the bundles, the F511, the F509, or the F507, are Maestro compatible. What that means is that all of the vehicle settings that you can control on your factory head unit, you can control with any of these bundles. You can also maintain your factory steering wheel controls, backup camera. Essentially, you lose no factory functionality. All you gain is form, function, and phenomenal technology. Also, across all three bundles, they have wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is fantastic. Our bundles will maintain your factory USB location for that wired connection for either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And also, it will charge your phone at the same time, just like it does with your factory setup. The entire Alpine lineup also supports the new SiriusXM 360L, which is essentially SiriusXM on demand. You can catch any of your favorite stations and shows within those stations at any time. It also supports the Tidal app, which is a high-res playback of all of your favorite music in one subscription. The Alpine lineup also supports an HDMI input and output, so you can, with the input, stream from a Roku stick or an Amazon Fire Stick, and with the output, you can project whatever's on your head unit to any external device. Guys and gals, I'm gonna break this down to you. This Alpine lineup for your Tacoma is pretty sweet. The integration of these head units with their dash cam, front cam, and even rear cam is seamless and beautiful. The screen is fantastic. The sound is incredible. You will not be disappointed. Let's take this over to the bench so I can show you guys exactly what each wire on the back of this bundle is and what it does and why you might need it for your installation. All right guys, so we're over at the bench with the Alpine Tacoma bundle. Now, of course, this is the F511, but the same will ring true if you have the F509 or the F507. And the purpose of this is to go over from left to right what each of these wires is and does, so you can be fully informed during your installation and know exactly what each wire is for and does. So let's get started. So left to right, the first USB, that's right here. It's got the sort of taupe connector right here. It's labeled and it says USB 2, 1.5 amps for charge. Okay, so this is just a charging USB. Now, with our kit, we're not gonna have this connected to any adapter or anything like that. This is just for your use if you wanna connect a second charging USB somewhere in your vehicle. So that's what that is. Now, the other USB, which is right here, this black connector, it's got a label as well. It says Apple CarPlay on one side, and then on the other side it says Android Auto. This is your wired connection for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And what we've attached here is the adapter here that adapts to your factory USB location so that you can maintain the factory USB location under your head unit currently for wired Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, and it'll also charge your phone at the same time. Next up is your main wiring harness, which comes and sort of goes in a variety of directions right out of the back of the head unit. So you can see here with all this black Tessa tape. So what we're gonna go to first is this cluster of connectors right here, these white connectors. These are your factory vehicle connectors. So you will have a mate on the Toyota side for each of these connectors. Now, the thing to point out is that this bundle is made for a 2019 Toyota Tacoma. So a 2016 to 2019 Toyota Tacoma will have these exact same connectors. If you have a 2020 Plus, they will look slightly different and one of them will be black. So just keep that in mind, but they do the same thing. They are your factory vehicle connectors. Next here is a wire, and it's worth going over. It's got a little label on it that says amp turn on. It's exactly that. This is your amp turn on wire. If you have an aftermarket amplifier, this is what you want to extend and connect to your amplifier wherever it is in the vehicle, and that'll get a signal from the radio bundle to your amplifier when the radio is on. Now, if you have a factory JBL amplified system, you don't need to do anything with this. This is only if you have a aftermarket amplifier, not factory JBL. Factory JBL will work flawlessly with our bundle. There's nothing additional you need to do. Now, the thing to keep in mind when you look at our bundle, okay, if you see a connector with tape on it, that means you do not need to do anything with it. We do that on purpose. There is no connection necessary for your install if there is tape on the little connector. In this bundle, this connector right here is actually the backup camera connection. Okay, so this is the fourth connector, main connector 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is for your backup camera connection. If you have a 2020 Plus, you will not have this connector. Next up, from left to right, and this is very important to go over. When you get our Alpine bundle, we're going to wire up all of the Alpine bundles this way. These wires right here, black, red, yellow, with bullet connectors on them, these are female bullet connectors. The reason these are here is that if when you purchase your Alpine head unit bundle or decide at a later date to get the dash cam, the Alpine dash cam, this is where you're going to get your power, ground, and accessory. All you're going to be doing is matching the wires from the dash cam to black, yellow, and red. And the dash cam is going to have male bullet connectors. So you're just going to be putting them into each corresponding colored wire, and that'll get you power, ground, and accessory to your dash cam so that it'll work at all times. Next, from left to right, right here, everything is labeled. This is your RCA, your video feed from your Alpine dash cam. So the Alpine dash cam wiring harness will have a yellow RCA, and this is where the video feed comes from the dash cam and can display on the head unit. To round out the dash cam wiring, right here, this wire here that says LIN, this will have a matching connector with your dash cam that also says LIN, and this will just need to be plugged in right here, and that rounds out the connectors if you were to get the Alpine dash cam with this for full integration with the head unit. Next up, front camera connection. If you were to get the Alpine super sweet, super clear, and high quality video front camera, literally all you have to do is mount it, run the wires, and plug in the front camera to this connector, and it'll be fully functional and integrated with your Alpine head unit. Next up, these are your rear speaker outs, both right and left. Right here, these are your sub outs, and again, everything is labeled. Your right and left sub outs. This bundle is an amplified JBL Tacoma, so in our bundle, we've used the fronts to power the amplifier and make sure all the wiring is correct. So if you have an amplified Toyota Tacoma, it'll be wired like this. If you do not have an amplified, then the front outs will also be not connected, just like the rear outs are. Okay, next right here, this is your microphone jack. So you're just going to plug in your Alpine microphone right into this jack right here. And again, everything is labeled. Next, if you've opted to get Sirius XM, this is your Sirius XM connection. You will actually have a tuner, a Sirius XM tuner connected to this and mounted on the back of the radio. And that's what this connection is for. Also, if you want to add it in the future, you can certainly do that and just plug it right in here. And lastly, this is your antenna adapter. So runs right around here, right into the back of the right-hand side of the radio. This is what you plug in your factory antenna connector into, and that will maintain your AM/FM connection at all times. All right, last thing to point out, this, what looks like to be another sort of taupe-ish gray port right here. This is your GPS antenna port. So you will just plug in your GPS antenna from Alpine into this port, and then that's what will enable you to have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Okay, so first step of disassembly is we need to remove this outer trim piece here, and the easiest way to do that I found is just grab this side and pull. All right, as you see there, it's come detached, and it's just held on by tabs. And now let's come to the other side, and the trim piece comes all the way off. So we're gonna set this aside. All right, next thing is we have to remove these 4 10mm bolts. There's 2 on each side. You can use a handheld 10mm socket wrench or a powered tool. And we're gonna use a power here. Just take it gentle and make sure you grab onto those as they start to come out so they don't get lost in oblivion. And what we like to do is we like to put those in the cup holder. That way you won't lose them. All right, so now that we have the 4 10mm bolts out, my recommendation is just put a microfiber towel down on your shift knob, because all we're gonna do is just pull the entire head unit out, and we can place it on the microfiber. All right, so now that we have the head unit out, we're just gonna remove all of the plugs from the back of the factory head unit, literally all of them. So look, we're just getting started on that. All right, we have the factory head unit all the way out. All right, guys, it's time to get the Alpine F511 bundle in your Tacoma. Now, just a quick reminder, whether you have the F511, which is the 11-inch screen, the F509, which is the 9-inch screen, or the F507, which is the 7-inch screen, this installation is all the same. It's going to be all the same connectors, so you can follow this for whatever bundle you purchase. It can assist you with your install in your garage in your Tacoma. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got the bundle right here for the F511. Okay, so I recommend having a microfiber towel. You can kind of put it right here on your console, and you can rest your bundle right on it so you can have easy access to the wiring. All right, so we've got all that there. So what we're going to start with is these 4 connectors here. These are your 4 main wiring connectors that are part of your Toyota Tacoma. And again, this is for a 16 to 19. If you have a 2020 plus, there'll be a slightly different configuration, but it all does the same thing. Again, all the plugs are keyed with our bundle, so just find their mate. So we're going to start with the main connectors in our bundle, which we detailed in our walkthrough on the bench. So let's go ahead and start plugging those in. Got that. And again, you can kind of size them up. I mean, you can eyeball it, tell which one goes in which. And you can try it one way, and if that doesn't go in, then just try the other, as I just did right there. All right, so we've got the main 4 connectors connected, all right? The other connector, regardless of the bundle that you choose, that you're gonna have, is the antenna adapter, which is right here, okay? It's a rectangular connector, and its mate is also rectangular, surprise, surprise, which is actually right back here. So it fell behind, so just keep that in mind. If you don't find something right off the bat, it's possible it fell behind the dash. So check back there periodically. The next one right here, this is the USB connector. This is to maintain your factory USB, and we have the factory USB connection, and we have our USB connector adapter right here, which we're just gonna plug right in. That does the trick right there. So we've got our USB connected. Next up, which is important to talk about here, is we've got 2 connectors right here that are essentially exactly the same other than color. One black, one white. The black one is your factory Sirius XM antenna connection. So if you maintained Sirius XM with your Alpine bundle, you're going to want to plug that into our Sirius XM adapter. This right here is your factory GPS connector, and actually with the Alpine bundle, we have to use their advanced GPS antenna. So it's way more advanced than the factory antenna, so that's why we aren't going to be using this today. But again, if you maintain Sirius XM, you'll be plugging that in. This customer did not, so we'll proceed. All right, next up is we already ran the mic, so we're going to go ahead and plug that into the connector labeled mic in. So we've got that right there. We've ran the GPS antenna, which we showed you how that's done. This is the connector end of the GPS antenna, and it actually goes right into the matching color port on the back of the radio right here. All right, so we've got that in. Okay, as it stands now, if you just ordered the Alpine Bundle, no accessories, no dash cam, no front camera, you're done with your connectors. Now, you're getting a little sneak peek here because we have a dash cam in this Tacoma. So I'm going to show you how easy it is once you run your wires to connect your dash cam for full power when your vehicle is on or off, and also for the video feed to the head unit so you can control your dash cam from your head unit. So let's get started with that. All right, if you remember from the bench, we have these female bullet connectors for the yellow, black, and red wires that we discussed, that these are to power the dash cam. So over here, and again, we'll have a more comprehensive video for this in the future, but over here is the dash cam wiring. I have it all over here, okay? So what we're doing here, we've got, let me pull them out. We've got a red wire, we've got a black wire, and we've got a yellow wire. So all we're gonna do is let's go yellow to yellow, black to black, red to red. All right, it's definitely worth noting that after I made these connections, these bullet connections, in this case there's an exposed section right here. Just have some electrical tape handy just to wrap around that. I've done several of these installs and that's actually never happened. So I'm actually happy it happened with this one, so that we can tell you folks that, you know, you may need to have some electrical tape handy, but again, just something as simple as that will make sure that it's not going to be touching anything else. But generally, most cases that won't happen. That's been my experience because I've done many of these installs, but there you go. All right, the next thing that we want to do for the dash cam is plug in the yellow RCA from the dash cam harness into the yellow RCA labeled drive recorder in. So let's go ahead and make that connection. So it's as simple as that. Lastly, on the bench for the dash cam, I told you that there would be a matching plug for this one that's connected to our Alpine Bundle that says LIN. And on the dash cam harness, there is, it's super tiny, but it says LIN, and it's the matching connector for this. Just plugs right in, and that is the last connection for the dash cam bundle that you need to connect for full functionality of not only the dash cam, but the complete integration with the Alpine head unit. Okay, the last piece, the last little sneak peek is here off of our bundle is the front camera connection, and we have routed a front camera with this Tacoma, and that connection is actually right here. And it's also labeled front camera. All you do is literally connect them together. So you can see there, you've made the front camera from our bundle to the wiring from the actual front camera on the vehicle. And then that's full power ground, full functionality when the head unit is on. Okay, so now that all the connections are made and then some for the bundle, just real quick, we put the microphone right on top here of this steering column, and then essentially just took the jack of the microphone, just dropped it through the steering column to the floor, and then used a wire fish down to the floorboard to pull the mic jack through. And then we already showed you how to plug that in. You know, you can put the mic here if there's other places that you want to put it. Let's say you want to put it up here in the corner or even over here, and just run the wire across here, down the A-pillar behind the weather stripping, and then come across and go behind the head unit. You can do that. But this is frankly the simplest way, and it's right in front of you. We're also toying with the idea of our mic mount that we have and getting a microphone to work with that, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully that'll work out, but for now we're gonna launch it this way. It's a great mic, I've been testing it, it's beautiful. No issues whatsoever. Everyone can hear me beautifully on phone calls. The voice commands are fantastic, it's been phenomenal. The other thing that you have to run, which we are gonna show you how we did it right now before your installation, is the GPS antenna. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how we got it back here behind the head unit, so let's do that. All right, so we put the GPS antenna over here. This is on the passenger side. We just tucked it nice down here in the corner, and the wire for the GPS antenna, we tucked it and hid it right here behind, here's the tweeter, and we could tuck the wire right down here, right down this channel right here. So you're tucking the wire down here along the side, and this whole panel right here comes off. Just use a panel tool. You can see it. It's already coming off. It's pretty easy. All right, so this whole panel removes, and you can route the wire. So again, feed it down into here. So then you pull out all the wire, and then you can feed it down into this next chamber right here. And then there's a channel that goes all the way across the dash to behind the head unit, right behind this. So you can take the GPS antenna all the way across. There's a channel here to right behind the head unit, okay? Use a wire fish or straighten out a old school coat hanger, and you can feed the GPS antenna right to behind the radio. Super easy, and then this whole panel just snaps right back into position. Golden. Okay, it's time to put this screen on for some tests. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this beautiful 11-inch screen and put it into position to run some tests. All right, so for the test, you're gonna wanna put in the power plate. This is gonna come in your kit. It's called the power plate, but it's really just a thin piece of plastic with these two pieces right here that go right into the top of the neck of the radio. And it's kind of best to just grab it from both sides and just guide it right down. And it goes right in those two little holes right there and just literally rests right there. Okay, we've got the power plate into position, and I think it's important to note that without that power plate in that position, despite it just being a piece of plastic, the head unit will not power on. So if you miss that step, it's not gonna power on. So if you install everything and it doesn't power on, I'd check your power plate. So let's go ahead and tilt this screen back up. Now, this is a decent time to take off the protective cover. Now, if you did opt to get the screen protector, I'd honestly wait until you do your tests. Wait until it's completely installed. Take that plastic piece off and then put your screen protector on immediately. Okay, we've got everything into position. Let's put the vehicle in accessory power and run through, make sure this thing powers up. I heard it powering up, so yep, good news. Alpine, Emotion in Mobility. Beautiful, HD radio, Sirius XM ready, and again, that's Sirius XM 360L. Boom, there we go. There's the Alpine homepage, and it looks beautiful. And it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which is great. So we're gonna go to a couple things. Let's go into the setup here. And just one thing that you need to do before you put it into reverse is you have to actually turn on the reverse camera. So here in the camera setup, you just gotta turn the reverse camera on. So that then will work when you put it in reverse. And we also have a camera too. So we showed you we have a front camera, so we want to turn that on. The front camera is now on. So we've got both of those good. Let's check a few things like steering wheel controls. Boom, there you go. Volume is clearly working. I don't have any audio on right now. I'm just testing functionality. We're in a shop, so even if I go to radio, we're not going to get a reception, but I can tell if it's changing. Yeah, so Seeking is working through radio stations, which means that changing songs is going to work in Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you use. So everything is functioning well. Let's press the, yep, so mute works. If I want to use, there we go, we're changing modes. That's perfect. Great. Everything is working well. So let's go ahead and get the screen off and finish up with the installation. Okay, so at this point, let's get the screen off. So what you're gonna do is just tilt the screen forward like that. And then it helps to have a flathead screwdriver because you can get some of these items like the power plate. We can pull that out. Comes right out of position. And then there's these little tabs here that hold the screen in. Remember, we didn't use any of the screws. We just lift the tab up and the screen will start to come off. Once again, there we go. And the screen comes right off. So let's put this aside and we'll keep going. All right, now that we have the screen off, let's go ahead and secure the other two 10mm bolts because we only put 2 in for the tests. Let's get those into position. And tighten down the other ones. All right, we are good there. Let's go ahead and grab our dash, which we just put there right on the floor, and get it right into position. Okay, looking pretty. All right, got the 11-inch screen here. Let's go ahead and put that into position here. You have to scoot yourself up on the seat to make sure everything seats correctly. Okay, we're golden there. Perfect, looking good. All right, now we need to secure the screen to the body of the bundle, and we do that with 4 screws. All right, so we're gonna be putting these screws in these. There's 2 holes on this side and 2 screw locations on this side. Make sure you have a magnetic Phillips head screwdriver, magnetic tip, so that it can stay on your screwdriver. All right, all screws are in position in order to secure the screen to the body. So now we need to pick up the power plate, which again is this piece of plastic right here. So there are holes that this just drops in, right like that. Then lastly, we're gonna put the cover on. And this just drops right in, as you can see there, exposes the screw holes there. All right, let's go ahead and get the top plate screws in. There we go, perfect. And the last one. Okay, all right, and there we go. Look at that beauty right there. Let's clean her up a little bit. Holy cow. Again, this is an 11-inch diagonal touchscreen. It is huge. Hey, let's get to the star of the show. Let's fire this baby on. Woo, man. I mean, it looked good when we were testing it, but now that the dash is all back, this looks killer.
Continuous recording will now
so
start.
That's the dash cam right there. That's good news. That means that the dash cam is fully functional. It has power. It's got everything that it needs in order to work. So our connections obviously work. That's fantastic. Let's run through, just make sure everything is looking good here. All the systems are working. That's great. Volume is changing, you can see that. So steering wheel controls are working. Perfect. All right, let's walk through this home screen here real quick. Of course, we've got AM, FM radio. We've got the USB connectivity if you want to load on songs or video. You can go to USB, which just uses your factory USB location. We've got HDMI input and output. The Sirius XM 360L, which is the new on-demand Sirius XM. Auxiliary, we've got regular Bluetooth, and of course, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and we talked about the Title app, the subscription app that gives you high-res music, like next-level music, which is built right into the Alpine interface, which is phenomenal. So another piece of setup that we want to do is we just want to activate the dash cam so the head unit knows that there's a dash cam connected. So we'll go into Function and then Dash Cam, and let's toggle that on. And then there's a setup process here that you can go through, but boom, that's your dash cam view right there. So you can see your dash cam view right on the head unit, which is amazing. And then the other cool thing, what we're gonna do is now it's gonna show on the home screen, do you see it there, dash cam? So once you have the dash cam fully set up, you can actually click into the home of the dash cam here. So it'll say it'll stop recording. So we're essentially going into the brain of the dash cam where we can click into settings, all right here, camera settings, record settings, road safety settings that we can all go into, but also we can go into the memory card. Now we don't have any settings here, we don't have any recordings here, but they would live here if you had, again, we just installed this, so they would live here if you had recordings where you could view your recordings all on your dash cam. It has a file list of continuous recording here. If there was an incident, it would be in there. So let's go into some of the, oh, actually there are some here. So let's go ahead and click into here. So here's a recording from earlier of, you know, again, it's just the shop while we were shooting these videos, but it's great. You got the recordings here that you can get all on the screen. You can just go back here. Here's the file list. Again, for us, it's gonna be all the same. You know, here's just another shot of, again,
dash is all back. This looks
And that's the audio right there. Here is the recording from earlier. There's Courtney walking in to the office. She's waving. Hey, Courtney. That's not live. That's from earlier. And so pretty cool. So if you were, out driving around, all your recordings are going to be easily accessible from this huge screen, all from the dash cam, which is up here. It's super awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and make the connection for Apple CarPlay. This will be a very similar connection for Android Auto. So let's start with that. I've got my phone right here. So what we're going to do to get started is we're going to go into Setup, and let's go to Device, and we're going to go to Device List, and we don't have any, obviously. We need to add a device. So let's go into the Bluetooth on my phone. Ooh, there's Cliff John's phone. So let's go ahead and press that. Connecting to device. Yes, 429-821, 429-821, pair. Yes. Yes. Allow. It's connecting. Yes. Start Apple CarPlay. Yes. Yes. All right, boom, just like that, we've got Apple CarPlay. So I'm gonna lower my phone down here. Look at that enormous screen. Beautiful, like super fun for maps and music and anything you have going on the screen. This is an 11-inch touchscreen. It looks phenomenal. It fits phenomenally. So just a couple things that we love to do, just to show you to walk through from this setup perspective, is go into the settings here. We like to change the wallpaper to all black. It just looks super nice and super slick and just kind of blends in with the dash there. So boom, there you go. There's the home screen there of Apple CarPlay. Again, any of your Apple CarPlay compatible apps will show on here. And same thing for Android Auto. If you're an Android user, all those Android Auto compatible apps will show. So all the normal apps that you would expect will be here: phone, music, maps, obviously your messages, and anything Apple CarPlay compatible will display here, as I've got a few pages here. Going back to the Alpine home screen here, there's just a few other settings that you'll want to take care of, and you just go into Setup and go into System and then Clock Adjust. And from a time zone, we are right here, -5. So that's our time zone. So you'll just want to make sure that yours is correct. So that's all set up. We're in a garage, so it's not coming up right away, but it will as soon as we leave the garage. So this head unit's packed with all sorts of cool information. We've got vehicle information here that as soon as we start up the vehicle, it would load, miles per hour. We've got load, intake, our fuel level, which is awesome. We've got vehicle info. So these will all load up when we start up the vehicle, but it'll have if you have TPMS on your vehicle, it'll have your tire pressure right here loaded on the screen, battery voltage right there, which is awesome. Now the other cool thing, let's go ahead and actually start it up. All right, so we talked about the front camera that we put on the vehicle. So boom, that's our rear camera right there. That's the factory rear camera that we can hit with the touch of a button. There's our front camera right there. Again, at a touch of a button here on the head unit, you can toggle between rear camera and front camera, which is awesome. That front camera view is beautiful. You can remove the grids there in the settings, but it's phenomenal. That looks great. Okay, real quick, let's go back to the home screen here, and let's just put the vehicle in reverse. There we go, reverse works just as normal, so that's great. Let's put that back. So that's some of the basic functionality of the head unit, but it's not basic, it's super advanced, which is awesome. So because of that, we're gonna have a whole separate video where we walk through a more in-depth setup process, where we go into more of the details of the EQ and some other things. So be on the lookout for that. But as far as getting your head unit up and running, you've got everything in this video. You follow that, it'll be sounding beautiful, super quick. We have these Alpine bundles right now ready for purchase, either the F507, the F509, or this huge F511 in the shop. So go ahead and check it out at www.trailgridpro.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.